Red Wing Iron Rangers at half the cost. Is this too good to be true, or have we found something special here? Thank you so much for watching. Please enjoy the video. Hey, my name is Ryan with Yushu, and today I'm doing a review of my Urban Wolf Club Axeman boots. These are amazing value, and I've already done a bunch of video on the Colt boots, but today I wanted to do a video on the Axeman boot. And first things first, I think the Red Wing Iron Ranger boot is a special boot. It's an awesome boot built on an amazing last. So I do want to bring that up. I don't think anything really replaces the Iron Ranger. I think if that's what you want, it's worth it. It's an awesome boot. But this boot, I think, is a great alternative if you want to spend kind of a fraction of the price. This is a $150 boot that has more leather in it, and it may last even a little bit longer than the Iron Ranger. But I just want to say that Iron Rangers are awesome. I'm not saying throw your Iron Rangers out to buy this boot. I'm saying if you have 150 bucks and you don't want to spend 400 after tax on Iron Rangers, this might be the boot for you. The other thing I want to talk about is this boot was given to me. So I even have a t-shirt from Urban Wolf Club Company they gave to me in a nice little care package. I didn't ask for this boot actually, but after I did a couple of videos on the other boot that I paid for with my own money, they wanted to send me something nice just to say thank you. They didn't even ask for a review of this boot. They said, hey, what boot do you want and how do you want it customized? So this is the boot I got, and I went with some customizations here that will make it different from the average boot. First thing I did was I have the natural finishing on the edges, so that's natural on the heel stack, the midsole, and the welt. And we kept it natural along the top. I believe if you get this from the factory, it's going to come with like a stained finish. And I also got a gusseted tongue. We'll look at that a little bit later when we take a deep dive into the boot. And I got chrome nickel hardware. Again, I was kind of looking for a Iron Ranger like boot, so I kind of spec'd it this way to make it look a little bit more like an Iron Ranger. I love my Iron Rangers. I have purchased 3 pairs of Iron Rangers and I think they're great, but I really wanted to feature this brand, this boot, for the people out there that don't really want to spend 350 to 400 bucks on a pair of boots when they can get something like this, and it arguably will last just as long. So let's turn the camera around, take a deep dive into this boot, and we'll see what you're really getting for that money. I really love the look of this boot with that natural welt, especially from the top down. But you're just getting such an awesome boot for the price. The most surprising thing I felt about my original pair of Colt boots was how well the sole held up. I really tried to beat it up. I actually think I like this sole better than the Vibram sole that comes on the Iron Rangers right now. So this is an amazing sole. The quality control is pretty good. The quality control with Red Wings is kind of hit and miss right now. So I feel like that's tough to say. The ones that I bought like a couple years back were really good. The most recent ones I purchased, my Red Wings, have had some issues, but this boot has some issues too. So it's not a perfect boot, and they didn't send me a perfect boot knowing that I would review it. Like I said, they didn't even plan on me reviewing this boot. But if this is your first time looking at the Urban Wolf Club boot company, I suggest that you go check out my past videos of my Colt boots, because I think I'm gonna just have way more information on the brand, what they offer, their customization offerings, and just general info on the brand. This is going to be more of a quick review, just looking at this boot that I've gotten to kind of customize to get that Iron Ranger look. So first thing I do want to talk about is the leather with this boot. So that is going to be one of the things that you're just not going to be getting with this boot. Is if you're a boot nerd, so to speak, and you're into super high quality leathers, this isn't the boot for you. This is the more starter boot. It's a really good leather. I actually really like this leather, and this leather kind of surprised me. I'll talk about that just in a sec. But it's not like the Stead leathers that you're getting for your rough or your suedes, or the Horween leathers that you're getting with the pull up. But this is a really nice full grain leather, but it's a little bit more rustic, this nice brown tone. And it's from the Lafarque Tannery in Mexico. So these boots are made in Mexico too, so they're keeping it all within that general area. And the leather is really cool. So it's not a corrected grain leather. You can see a lot of the flaws. You can see the scars in the skin. There's a nice one, and that doesn't bother me at all with a boot like this. I think that actually adds to it. It gives it a lot of character. But what I was shocked by is my favorite boot that I've ever owned, which is going to blow people's minds, and it's more sentimental than anything, to be honest. is this Thursday Diplomat boot. Again, this is another Leon-made boot with Leon-made leather, and I actually think this leather is the same stuff. This is just maybe just a lighter variant of it, and this one's just a little bit darker, but it looks and feels the same. Everyone knows about Thursday. This is a $200 boot with a fiberboard insole. To kind of give you the brief synopsis of this boot, it has a ton of leather in it. It has a thick veg tan insole, a thick veg tan midsole, veg tan heel stack, true double layer cap toe. It just has so much more going on than Thursday, and it's $150. Even if you customize it just like this, they will ship it free for $150. So that's 2 sets of laces. It comes with leather laces and cotton laces, round cotton laces. I mean, that's just an unbelievable deal. And I'll show you what I got different about this boot that I didn't have with my other boot. So the big thing is we got the gusseted tongue. So here's the gusseted tongue. You can kind of see it. What's going on there? It's gusseted up to the 5th eyelet, and they put the logo on it. So I actually really like the logo. The one on the website has the logo right here. Not into that. I'm just not into logos in general. I actually really like the logo, but putting it on the tongue when it's folded around your ankles, that's totally fine. I still dig that look. But you have a fully gusseted tongue, and then this new black liner leather. And there's actually something new about this boot from when I did my last boot. It has a veg tan insole. Now, when I'm talking about a veg tan insole, I'm talking about this guy. And this is from my rip apart of my other pair of Urban Wolf Club boots. The veg tan insole in this boot is about as thick as the one in Iron Ranger's boots. I just compared it to Weston from Rose Anvil, his cut in half of the Iron Rangers. And so you get that super thick veg tan lasting board. You get this another piece of chrome tan leather that's glued to it and stitched to it. That's why you have that stitch line there. And then that is folded over, and that's what's working as your gemming that you sew the welt to. So just a super stiff, hardily built boot. But my last pair of boots came with this chrome tan leather insole with foam backing, which was fine. I think this is actually a fine insole too, but the new boot is a little bit different. It comes, and this is hard to get out, so let's see. It comes with a veg tan leather insole with foam on the back. So this is a little bit nicer, I think, than the chrome tan leather insole, but I mean, it's not a huge deal. You'll just be able to break in your footprint to that, and you'll have the foam underneath you, and you still have that thick veg tan insole or lasting board that the other one came with, but you're just having a little bit more veg tan under your feet for the guys who really want as much veg tan as they can possibly get under your feet. And that is the weirdest sentence I've said today, and I've said some pretty weird sentences. So that's the main difference, what's inside the boot. This is stiffer, quite a bit stiffer, of course, being veg tan, but it will break in nicely. And then once you've kind of ruined this, or after years of use, if this ever gets worn out, you still have that super thick veg tan insole that you can put something else in or just rock that. Now, I will admit, I prefer how Red Wing goes about their insoles. Now, I know that they have the same exact big, thick lasting board, but they do a half insole just under the heel. And so your foot is actually resting on this part. That's what I did with this thing. I actually didn't use this insole. I broke it in like that, but it's too hard under the heel, and you need just a little bit of padding under the heel. And if you want to know why you really need that, especially with this boot, go see the video where I rip the boot apart. That will explain that, but that would be my preference. This is okay, but I really like when my toes can break into the insole. I mean, look at that. Can you see how indented it is? That feels more comfortable to me than having toes on foam, but to each his own. This boot is still amazing. If I wanted to, I could probably cut this insole and glue it and put it in, or like I did with this one, I have a half insole that's just you insert into the boot, and that's what I use when I rocked this boot. So I prefer Red Wing a little bit more that way, but I prefer the leather midsole and the leather heel stack with the Urban Wolf Club. I think that's just a little bit higher quality. Red Wing, you're gonna have better leather. Hardware is gonna be pretty much the same. And then let's just go over QC. So this is definitely not a perfect boot. There are things that are making this a more value-friendly boot when it comes to the QC. And if you are super particular about your QC, then this might not be the boot for you. But I think most guys are gonna be okay. But one of the things is they do this triple stitch along the cap toe, which is great. But then at the end, they double it up. So they go back and they double up just to reinforce where it kind of comes down to the welt. And you can kind of see it. You can, it's just a thicker line there. Again, this doesn't bother me at all, but I want to point this stuff out. And they did so on this one too, but they were a little bit off the mark. So from a distance, you can kind of see that. It's the same with here. They do the same thing here. They kind of go off the mark when they do that back stitch just to kind of reinforce it. So that's one thing. It's not perfect. The welt stitching is really dang good though. Oh my, look at that. Super, super consistent. Really nice welt stitching. Has a little bit of a frayed stitch there. Again, not a big deal. And the welt joint is like unreal. Look how good that welt joint is for $150 shipped to you boot. I mean, that just blows my mind. But there are some things that could be better, and it's not on this boot. It's actually on this boot, and that is they put a welt joint in the boot. So the welt joint that the actual boot maker uses is he starts the welt here and he wraps it around, and it has to have a joint, right? A 360-degree welt has to have a joint. But this welt comes in a big roll, and it's a continuous roll. So what they do is they splice the welt together. Now, in a lot of companies, they'll actually cut those splices out, or they'll just make sure that splice doesn't land in the boot. But in Urban Wolf Club, it does. So on this boot, I did have a splice land in the boot. Can you see that there? From the top, you see a little bit of a line. And on the side, I mean, you can't barely see it from the side, but on the top, you can see a splice. So that is one of the things that could be better with Urban Wolf Club. It's still really good. I don't think that's a fail point because of how the boot's put together, especially with that leather midsole, but I do think that if you are super particular about the quality control of your boot, this might not be the one. But I mean, I gotta tell you, I've said this before on other videos, but I've gone to department stores to see what $150 will get you in a boot, and this blows it away. I mean, this boot, if you treat it well, will last forever. There's so much leather in this boot, and again, please check out my rip apart of my other pair of Urban Wolf Club boots I did a couple months ago, because that will really show you how good the leather is. And even the thick heel counter, there's a veg tan heel counter, which I don't know a single boot for $150 where you can get a veg tan heel counter. I've got my one I ripped apart so I can just kind of show you how thick that veg tan heel counter is. And they've improved on the quality. That was one thing that I thought could improve upon, was the quality of the actual lining leather, and I really feel that this one is better. This is a better quality lining leather. This is more closely related to like the Thursday liner. So I've talked about Thursday a couple times when reviewing this boot, so you might think, bro, Thursday's $200, that's $150. It's not a great deal. Well, you know what? This boot, if Thursday made this boot, oh, actually they do make this boot now. It's their heritage line, or what, I don't even know what they're calling it. Actually, Rose Anvil, he just did a collaboration where they're making the ultimate captain boot. That's this boot. That's going to be double the price of this boot though. This is $150. This is a steal of a deal. Do not come at me saying that this is a $150 boot. This is an amazing deal. It's a great leather, not a name brand leather. It's a great build, veg tan leather throughout, and it's just an awesome looking boot that you can have customizations done for free. So I'm sorry, I did not mean to get passionate there, but I've seen some of the comments about this company, and yeah, it's not going to be for everyone, but let's not debate the value that much. I mean, there is not much to debate there. Even that rolled top is done. Everything's done just really well. So do know these take a little bit to get made because they're made to order. So you might wait, 2 weeks to a month. But if you want to get some customizations, they'll be happy to work with you. These are not stock boots. The Fernando, the one that you will communicate with over Instagram, he's super nice. It's not like you're gonna get like super quick responses because he'll have a lot of orders, but if he has a lot of orders, but he will get back to you. Look at that. See that that's so cool to me. I love the character in this leather. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions about this boot. Please check out my other videos on this company, and I will see you on the next one. Let's talk a little bit about sizing while we're here, because I just have to assume that this is your first Urban Wolf Club boot company boot. So I'm a 12.5 on the Brannock device, and I got these a half a size down, and they fit absolutely perfectly. They fit exactly like the Iron Rangers fit. The only difference is right here in the kind of the waist in the middle of the foot, it doesn't taper as much as with the Iron Ranger. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Iron Rangers does have like a unique last shape that gets pretty narrow towards the center of the foot. But other than that, it's about the same. So get your Iron Ranger size or half down from Brannock. This is an E width, they say. So it does have a little bit of room, but if you want to get a double E width, they have another boot that has a double E width, but you cannot get this in a C width. So you have to be okay if you are a C or a D, that you'll have a little bit of extra room. But to me, it's not that bad because it still looks really nice, especially from above with that natural welt. So I do want to make sure I do a little bit about sizing, and it's very comfortable, of course, because you have foam underneath your foot. And the heel does take a little bit of time to break in because you have that veg can heel counter, but once that breaks in, per my other boots, it is unbelievably comfortable.